All right. Good evening. Good evening, Rolling Out. This is your host, Crystal Jordan, and we are, of course, back with Reality Check. Now, as you guys know, Reality Check, we talk about relationships. We talk a lot about relationships, actually. We have had people from all walks of life, a lot of dating and relationship shows, along with other celebrities and reality stars that come on our show to get down to the reality check of their situations. And so today's guest, I'm really excited about the conversation with him because he has a new album out called Singles Ministry, and he is a gospel artist that has a message that I believe relates to everyone. We see gospel music going through changes. You guys know we had Kirk Franklin on a little while ago with his Good Words podcast. We've had Tasha Cobb. We've had so many gospel artists on that are basically sharing that gospel has to change in order to reach today's people. So please help me welcome my guest for today, the very charismatic Pastor Mike. Get him on here. Hey, Pastor Mike.
What's up? I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. I was so excited to see, first of all, your the new single that's coming out. I know it's coming out September 3rd. So this actually will air after that is already out. So I'm excited about that. We got a clip of your new single. You have so much going on. In addition to being an artist, you actually are pastoring.
That's right.
Flock down there in Alabama.
That's right. Yeah, I'm excited, man. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I can firmly say the pandemic doesn't stop the promise. You know, I dropped my first single right before the pandemic. So Crystal, can you believe it? Since the pandemic has happened, we've had 2 #1 singles, went from New Artist of the Year 1 year to Artist of the Year the second year. And on top of that, the number I'm most excited about, close to 6,000 people have gotten saved during a pandemic virtually. And it's just been an incredible time. I think Drake said it best when he said, "Oh, what a time to be alive." So I'm excited, man.
He did. And, you know, you mentioned the pandemic because it feels like we are, you know, we have come out of it in some ways, but in some ways we still haven't. We still have people that are uncertain about their health. We hear, you know, people still getting sick, still dealing with COVID numbers rising. We know that you're there in Alabama and Louisiana had a horrible storm just last week. And so there's still so many things. Crime has risen. Crime rates are up across the country. So even though we've come out of the pandemic as far as being enclosed in our homes, people are still dealing with the uncertainty of life. A lot of people haven't gone back economically to where they were. What has been your message? I love that the pandemic doesn't stop the promise, but we have to acknowledge people are definitely dealing with a lot more than they were acknowledging before. So what's the message now?
I agree, man. I think the pandemic was where I believe the pandemic was way more spiritual than it was physical. Mm-hmm. You know, I believe first the natural, then the spirit, first the spiritual, then the natural. So it's a lot that happens with that. So I've been telling everybody, use this pandemic as a reset. You know, use this as a reset. If I can be transparent, for me, I pride myself on being the best father in the country. I believe that nobody's a better daddy than me. But at the same time, the pandemic revealed that although I was present, I wasn't fully present. That I would be at the football game, but I would be on my phone ready to make sure the service was going to be good. Or although I was there listening to my daughter read to me, I might have been on the phone doing other things. So it's being fully present. I think what we have to realize is when the government or the health department told us to social distance, they told us to remain 6 feet between each person. It's crazy because 6 feet is the point of death. Catch this now. When you die, they bury you 6 feet. So they said in order to kill the disease, we had to keep 6 feet in front of us. And I believe that many of us don't even realize what all died during the pandemic. You know, it was certain people, Crystal, that you thought you could not live without. That 6 feet revealed they were an accessory, not a necessity. You got me? So what happens is I believe so many people, especially watching right now, you are frustrated and you feel off your game because now that you are out of quarantine, you are trying to pull on stuff that's dead. You're trying to revive. I want to go back to how it was. And it may not be that no more. And it's okay, you know? It's okay. It made me dig deeper in my teaching because like many preachers and like many pastors, you know this growing up in the South, you become a slave to respond. So sometimes I would argue some preachers aren't even saying what they feel God is saying. They're just riding what they think people are going to shout amen to, or
Right.
get an emotional response. Well, not having a crowd forced me to really examine the word for myself and say, no, let's rightly divide the truth. So I believe we're not out of the woods yet, but I believe for those who really embrace the reset, they're going to come out stronger.
Wow, that is a whole word in itself. We could keep talking about that, but I want to talk about, because the title of your upcoming album really stuck out to me, because like I mentioned to you before, growing up in the church, I was very aware of the idea of what the singles ministry was, and also what was told to us as far as dating and relationships, and the reality is, we realized even back then that no one really has it right, or at least it doesn't seem that way. So I want to pull up. I'm trying to get the artwork for your. Here we go. Oh, let me get it in a bigger way. The artwork for your album, Singles Ministry. Tell us, what was the inspiration for calling it that? Because there's so much that goes on around. We're not going to talk about the rumors that there's no men in the singles ministry.
The singles ministry at the average church is 75 women and 2 old dudes.
Talk about it, Pastor Mike, please.
So I mean this, man. I got it, singles ministry. So the backstory is the pandemic happens. All right. I'm one of those pastors. I'll give you my story. At 25, I start the church. There's 10 of us. So let's just say Easter 2009 is 10 of us. Easter 2010 is 900 to 1,000 of us. Easter 2011 is 5,000 people in an arena, and we never looked back. All right. So here it is now. I'm one of those pastors that I would preach the first service, go stand outside and park cars the second service. I'm very personable. I love talking to people and meeting people. I live by the motto, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that matters to me. We paid off $1.3 million worth of medical debt for everyone in the city of Birmingham who had outstanding medical bills. Giving is what we do. So for me, when the pandemic happened, I'm at home quarantined, I'm booed up. Okay. So then all of a sudden I start getting these inboxes like, Pastor Mike, pray for me. I've been in this house 7 days alone, or it's driving me crazy. So believe it or not, this time last year, I wrote all this music. I said, I want to find a way to communicate with him. I called my boy, Dr. Darius Daniel, said, drop me some nuggets in between the songs as some lessons and some tools. So for me, think about this, Crystal. There's no chapter in the Bible on dating.
No.
Because marriages were arranged. That's a whole nother biblical, theological, methodological study right there. But everybody who's always preaching marriage, when they don't even realize all of the marriages in the Bible were arranged. They were business transactions. My daddy got with your daddy and said, here's what we gonna do. Or you got picked because it was so patriarchal, you didn't even have a choice. Look at the story of Rachel and Leah. We don't even know if they wanted Jacob. They daddy.
Leah didn't like it didn't work too well for Leah. That's what we do know, Pastor Mike. I always wondered, like, God didn't want to look out for Leah?
Exactly, man. So for me, the singles are the most overlooked demographic in the church. To me, everybody preaches marriage. The moment a pretty girl walks into your church, the first thing we say to people is, we got to find you a husband, girl. Like, it's like, no, I am whole by myself. One of the most beautiful things that's happening in my church is that I have a demographic of singles who are buying properties, who are getting multiple degrees. And I'm teaching them, no, you're not a half waiting on another half so y'all can become whole. This isn't 0.5 plus 0.5 equals 1. This is 1 plus 1 equals 1. Because I'm whole, he's whole, and with God, the two become one. So for me, I wanted to find a way to talk about it, because I got singles who, when I talk to them, like, Pastor Mike, like, I know you told me don't get in this. I got in this. Here's how my heart got broke. Or Pastor Mike, he married, but I love him. So and instead of bombastically beating people up, I try to listen. So if you listen to this album, I had one of my members call me and say, Pastor Mike, I said, yeah. Is that me on singles ministry? I said, yep. She was like, I thought that was me. So I got a chance to put all of their stories into music, and the testimonies are blowing me away, man. I think it's at almost 1.1 million plays on Spotify already. You know, and everybody's saying, Pastor Mike, thank you. Like, because I tell them all the time, like, one of my singles said, well, I went to my last church. They told me I need to pray this sex demon off me. I said, no, don't do that, because your husband gonna need that. Like, let's not pray it off, because you don't need that back. Trust me. Because the problem is married folk ain't having sex and single folk having all the good sex. Can I get a what?
Wait, Pastor Mike, you're telling the truth. You are telling the truth. Don't you
So I just wanted to find a way to just speak to it, man. And I wanted to find a cool way, but somewhat controversial way to start the discussion.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now. I'm getting the opportunity to talk to you. I'm getting the opportunity to talk to so many people about, hey, you are not inadequate. You are not incomplete. And if you never find somebody, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's for the people who marry, if we really be honest, the picture on Instagram is better than the reality. But we don't normalize struggle. If I went on Instagram right now and said, hey, y'all pray for me, I can't stand my wife. She getting on my nerves. Everybody gonna think I lost my mind, when it's gonna be a whole lot of people out there like, bruh.
But that's real. But you know what? And that's what I wanted to ask you about, because what I think that has happened in the church is turned a lot of people off, because you hear, you know, you're supposed to get married and you're supposed to stay married, and then 55% of marriages end in divorce, and that extends to the church as well. In fact, I actually saw
worse in the church.
That it's more in the church than not, because people are getting married because they feel like if it's better to marry than to burn. All these Bible verses that are being misconstrued or applied to a culture that doesn't really. We're not having arranged marriages. It's not the same, you know, as there. So how do you walk that line if someone comes to you and says, I'm trying to live right, I'm making mistakes, but I've made some mistakes, but how do I live godly, but still, you know, find a man that I actually am compatible with, or find a female that I'm compatible with, and actually have an amazing relationship in today's time? We're on dating apps. We're on social media. We're sliding DMs. How does all that work in God's will?
I try to be honest and patient with people. That's how I do it. You know, Crystal, it's we live in difficult, arduous times. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I said, man, I would be afraid to date right now, because you just don't know what's real, from men or women. You just don't know what's real. Social media makes you think they're a millionaire. Their caption and their bio makes you think they have a Fortune 100 company. The makeup will have you dating somebody you didn't even know you were gonna make. My sister, shout out to her, she's a makeup artist, went to school for it, and she'll send me before and after pictures. I'm like, that is false advertisement. Like, no. Conversely, even when I go sing, if I ate too much, I put me on me a little bodysuit so I can get me. Everybody's stunned in front.
Man Spanx.
Hey, man Spanx. Hey, Crystal, everybody's stunned in front. So for me, I would just ask them, the first thing I say is categorize yourself. And if you're watching right now, put this in your phone. Number one, am I casually dating? You know, casually dating. Crystal, it ain't that deep. When I meet Crystal, I'm gonna say, Crystal, I'm dating a lot of people. I didn't say I was sleeping with a lot of people. I'm just dating. If I want to go to the movies, if I want to go eat, I have friends. I'm not looking for nothing serious. If it happens, it will happen organically. It's just casual. Now, the danger with being casual is if you step over into sexual, now feelings are intertwined, and now we deal with things called soul ties. Pause, parenthetically digress, because we have taught that inaccurately, because we only suggest soul ties are sexual. There are other types of soul ties. Believe it or not, so many people leave the church because that's a negative soul tie to church hurt.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, you know that. So am I casually dating? Number two, put this in your notes. Am I optimistically waiting? I ain't gonna front, Pastor Mike. I heard your song Single and I love it. I hate it. So I ain't playing that song. I want my husband. I want my wife. I myself, I wanted to be a daddy. I wanted to be married. My dad and mom were phenomenal. I grew up in church. So in that church culture was, everybody was getting married at 23, 24, 25, that trying to act grown, miserable. So am I optimistically waiting? Pastor Mike, I ain't out here being a fool. I'm living my life. I'm getting degrees. I just talked to a group of singles the other day, and she's like, Pastor Mike, I don't know if I want to buy this house. What if my husband come? I said, pause. I said, buy the house. Your husband gonna have his house. Y'all gonna move into the biggest one, then rent the other one out. Like, what are we doing?
That's real talk. Like, yeah.
What are we doing? So casually dating, optimistically waiting. Here go all of my thirst trappers. Frustratingly baiting.
Wow.
You just send thirst traps all day. That's all you do. In your story, questions. Like, what should I wear? You just all in your stories, getting all these questions. Everything about is how lonely you are, and everything is erotic and intoxicating. And then you end up empty. Watch this, because the bait you use determines the fish you catch.
Oh.
Can I say that again, Crystal?
Run it back.
Run it back.
Like, run it back.
The bait you use determines the fish you catch. I am looking at Crystal right now, and as I look at you, I see books behind you. I can tell that room is organized. I can tell how you carry yourself. You have it all together. I can see the confidence on you to put a ponytail on, sling it to the side, and I'm just here. It is me. Baby, I am accomplished. I know I've lived long enough. Because you have a journalistic background, I know you're probably analytic. You're probably very stubborn on things you believe. You are bold. So that tells a guy out the gate, come correct. Come correct. Come correct. Point blank. But if I'm frustratingly baiting and I'm playing the damsel in distress and the woe it's me, and I need a man, you get what you put out there. Or brothers, if all you're doing is flashing your cash, if all you doing is flashing your Benz and your cash, don't be mad when that's what they want. Does that make any sense?
Can I say that? Because I just don't feel like we always talk about that other side.
The other side, absolutely.
And that is the other side. A lot of women get a bad rap, especially in the church, because like you mentioned, it is a patriarchal construct. So, there's a drop cloth. If your skirt is too short, you can't lead the men astray. But then when the man pulls up and he's trying to show how much money he has, and he's inflating that income, and then he gets a woman that is only interested in that or mainly interested in that, then he's hurt and he has a Jezebel. No, sir.
That's what you baited. That's what you baited, man. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. One of the most difficult things about my music career is this is the first time in my life people are calling me Pastor Mike Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at my church, everybody just called me PMJ. When I meet people, I say, hey, what's up, Mike McClure? I've never in my life introduced myself as Pastor Mike Jr. That's one of my regrets, is that when we dropped that first song, I wish I just would have did it as Mike McClure, or I didn't do it as Mike McClure because there was a country singer out called Mike McClure, and we didn't want to confuse the two. Right. So, but I think that's what we got to realize, because men are some of the greatest thirst trappers on the face of the planet. We're going to show the Benz, we're going to show the house, we're going to show the suit and the beard game. We do the same foolishness everybody else do. Right. So look at this: casually dating, optimistically waiting, frustratingly baiting. Oh my God. Randomly and sporadically mating. you just out here dropping it like it's hot, knocking down, shooting your regular. Be honest about that. So for me, when I talk to my singles, my number one thing is be honest and own your truth. Yeah. Like I tell guys, I said, you don't have to lie to women these days. They're strong enough to make their own decision. So I'm telling everybody, and I stop talking right here. The biggest takeaway is date on assignment. I think your dating life should match your assignment. So if Crystal is building her career and she's looking to move up the corporate ladder, and real talk, she may live in this state, but her career can take her to LA at any moment. Her assignment right now may not call for a husband. But be honest about that. Now, don't get mad at God, because here's what we do a lot too, Crystal. We ask God for something that trumps what you want. Okay? So we say stuff like, this is cold-blooded. Myself. Man, I want the music career. I finally get the music career, and take, for instance, this Thursday, I had an opportunity, Crystal, just paying me an ungodly amount of money. It's just ungodly what they wanted to pay me to come do this concert. All right.
Okay.
But my son, both of their games are Thursday. All right. Now, the average person would say it's one game. With me, that's non-negotiable. They won't care how many records I sell. They won't care if I go get $20,000 and buy them a PS5.
Yeah.
If they score and look to them stands and daddy ain't there, that's my assignment. So when I pray to God for this career and then it conflicts with my other covenant, then I have a decision to make. See, I'm comfortable making that decision because I have certain non-negotiables. You know, so I don't deal in my life in order. I live my life in orbit. The same way planets revolve around the sun, my life revolves around the son. So there are times when I will have to tell my boys, there's a funeral, a family just lost a loved one, daddy can't come. They got to understand that. But for other things, I'm like, this comes first. And I think a lot of times singles, here's the part that we don't like. And I hope this doesn't come off bombastic. Stop praying for a boss when you want him to be present. And stop praying for a strong woman when you can't deal with her mouth. I want a strong woman, but then when she has an opinion, then you want her to shut up.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I think we actually don't even know
what we're praying
for or what we praying for. I want me a strong black woman. She's going to be opinionated. She's going to be wise. She's going to be bold. She's not going to let you settle. She's going to call you on your stuff.
Yeah.
You're doing too much. Well, you should have prayed for a weak girl. I'm going to stop before I go viral. I'm going to just stop.
I love you, Pastor Mike. I'm like, we need to play. You know what? Let's play this clip. I want to play a clip of the record because we could talk about this. This is what our audience loves, but this is real talk. This is real relationship talk. And it really doesn't have, this is common sense talk, really, you know, and it definitely can go into, you know, if you're trying to live your life in a godly way, but this also was just common sense. Like this is just good talk. And especially in our community, I'll say the African-American community or the Black community, where we do have some amazing examples of Black love, but we also have a lot of disconnect, right? And we also have this narrative of the strong Black career woman that is unmarriable, and a man, you know, men that feel like they're not appreciated. So this kind of conversation allows us to understand each other better and to be more realistic about our you know, our wants and goals in life.
And Crystal, you want to know why that's so important? Because nothing you and I have said today was over spiritualized. I didn't say, well, God wants you. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. God don't want us to have half the stuff we keep saying God wants us to have. Like God said, I just wish above all things you would prosper, even as your soul prospers, you know? So for me, like you said, it's just common sense and it's real talk in a pragmatic way that says, hey, baby girl, this ain't it. Like your heart broke because you picked wrong. Or hey, brother, look, this is on you. Yeah. You had a good girl. She's crazy now because of what you took her through. You know, so it's just real talk, man. Play the clip.
Well, you know, we could do this all day, but I want to talk about the music because that's one of the reasons that we're here. But your preaching obviously is that as well. So let's go into this. Let's take a break. Go into this clip. This is I Got It with Pastor Mike. Okay. You almost caught me. You almost caught me jam. You're having a good time. Good time. Talk about that song. First of all, you can hear the anointing on your voice. Your voice pulls people in. Talk to us about about I Got It. And then let's talk about Love, that actually is dropping September 3rd, correct?
Yeah, man. So I got it, man. So imagine, here's what's crazy. I am so excited for this next gospel album that I do, because everything you hear on the current album, none of it was planned. So Big, that went number one for 10 weeks. I randomly sung that in church, and the team, we went back to the studio and made it a song. I Got It was something I said at Bible study.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were at Bible study one day, and I said, whatever you need, God told me to tell you, I got it, I got it. Hey, you got. And before we know it, we turned it into a song. So I Got It is bifold. Number one, whatever you need from God, he's got it. But then it's sort of a little swag too, to whatever you need from me, I got it too, you know. So I wanted to write a song that if you were headed to a job interview and you needed some motivation, before you get to the interview, I got it, I got it. Hey, you got it, you got it. And I'm just excited to see what it's doing. It is currently in the top 20, top 15 on the R&B charts, which is crazy.
Exactly.
So I'm excited about that, man.
Exactly. I have to ask you before we talk about your next record. I mentioned Kurt Franklin and Mary and even Tasha Cosby and some of the gospel artists that have struggled with their music going what they used to call secular or mainstream. But it's, you know, there used to be a time when gospel music, they never would understand why it wouldn't go mainstream. And that's because it didn't sound the same, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't have the same production level and things weren't the same. So now we have gospel artists that are few that are able to do that and to create music, and then people are still upset about it. What's your thoughts on that idea of not calling gospel music gospel? I've heard calling it inspirational, doing different things so that people don't feel like it just has to fit in that box and people can really get the message regardless of what genre they love.
Yeah, these are the hoops we have to jump through. Malcolm X said, when America catches a cold, Black America catches pneumonia. So a lot of times when it comes to Black music in general, like even when you look at iTunes, we don't have a gospel section. We get lumped in there with Christian. That is borderline disrespectful, because that is almost like putting R&B and hip hop in the same category.
Wow.
You know, so for us, man, a lot of times we have to jump through those hoops. One thing I wanted to be intentional about sonically was what it sounded like. You know, so when you hear I Got It, you can kind of just feel that hip hop flavor to it. But we also ran into some problems on R&B because we realized it had they called my singers the choir, because again, when you look at secular radio, you really don't hear backing vocals like that.
Right.
You know, so I think you just have to be true to yourself. And I think the problem becomes sometimes when you're desperately and intentionally trying to cross over.
Yes.
You know, like we went number one on gospel. Carrie, shout out to Black Smoke and Carrie Douglas and Rock City Media Group. KD hit me, was like, hey, you know, you like number 30 on R&B? I was like, oh, wow. I said, well, let's start pushing it. You look up, man, I think we hit like 14 and we just kept rolling. And it was so funny because Tank's one of my favorite R&B singers. Like, that's my hero, man. So if you listen to Singles Ministry, you will hear a lot of Tank, Tank in it. You know, so I looked on the charts one day, it was Tank, then me. I was like, you know,
that's what's up.
Yeah, so they even do it with me though. Like I saw one article, they were like this urban inspirational breakout star.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand it, and I think that's smart because of what we're trying to do. My life's assignment, again, because I used to feel bad for singing, you know, to give you I got time to give you my story, the quick version.
Yeah.
So I've always sung. I did praise and worship for my dad. I sung solos as a kid. I started the church at 25, and I was ready to go full-fledged to a music career. I was writing music, and I heard the Holy Spirit tell me, love God, love your family, love your city, love your church, 4 things, and the world will come looking for you. I said, heck no, that ain't it, bro. I'm not trying to be a stuffy preacher. He said, love God, love your family, love your city, love your church. And I heard this clear as day. In 10 years, the world will come looking for you. I told God yes, and the church exploded, you know, and a lot of opportunities came my way. I was the youngest pastor on national TV, and I came off national TV, you know, because I literally heard God say, "You're moving too fast." I came off. We celebrate our 10-year church anniversary. Keep in mind, I forget this 10-year word God gave me. We get to our 10-year church anniversary. A guy by the name of Carrie Douglas comes. He ends up marrying one of my best workers at the church. They come to my house for marriage, just hang out for marriage counseling. We go downstairs. He says, why you got a studio? I said, well, my counselor asked me, how do I rinse with all the people dumping their bad news on me? I said, well, I just go in there and I record music. He was like, well, let me hear something. I played I Got It. He stopped me halfway and was like, whoa. He's like, what else you got? I played Big. By the time I got midway through Big, he looked at me and said, these are the 2 top songs in the world. If you trust me, your life will never be the same. We make a deal. Big goes number 1. I Got It goes number 1. My mom looks at me and says, that was 10 years, wasn't it? So for me,
yes,
we remember. So even with the songs I'm doing now with the album, Singles Ministry, I've caught a little slack from, people saying this ain't gospel. He might as well just go to the world. Spiritual World posted it. And people in the comments were like, see, that's exactly why I got my own relationship with God right there. Why the pastor got to be talking about this? But for me, see, when you look at Jesus vis-a-vis Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesus wasn't killed for being a motivator. He was killed like King for being an agitator. Dr. King wasn't, as long as his dream was about just getting to the restaurant, they was giving him tips. Hey, don't go to this rally. They're going to try to kill you. When he started talking about economics, we got to kill him. It's because he became an agitator. So for me, I don't mind. I'm going to do all I can to get the message out and reach as many people as possible, because I believe the moment the church stops being afraid of taking risk, we're going to continue to lose the influence that we're already losing.
Yeah. And it's so needed right now. I think people need that message. I'm going to ask you, and this is something I think we've seen so much. Do you worry about your personal life being under a microscope and under such scrutiny? Because we realize that pastors, I think even more than musicians, are vessels of God's word. But a lot of times people do put them on a pedestal and forget that they are human. And then when they make mistakes, it can cause
major
some of the issues that we talked about before, church hurt. There's a really popular dating series on OWN called Ready to Love. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the show is very, very popular amongst Black culture. Singles dating, and one of the biggest themes throughout this entire season last year was church hurt and certain people deciding, I don't want to go to church anymore because I've been there and a pastor was irresponsible. I don't want to do that. And someone else saying, oh, well, I have to have a man that's in church. And that divided people, several couples on the entire show. So I wonder, how do you kind of balance your own life, because you're still very young, and as a young man, I'm sure you make mistakes, but understanding that you're able to do that, but yet still be able to deliver God's message consistently to others.
I try to just be honest about who I am. I'm flawed. I never forget when I started my church, I gave my testimony about how my oldest son is not by my wife. And that was ministerial suicide. You know what I'm saying? I'm 20 something years old, found out I have a child. Me and my wife get married. And I wasn't finna hide my son. That's not who I am as a person. My son lives with me to this day. Like literally, that was him texting me right there, like, where you at? So for me, I try to live by my scars, like, hey, here's where I messed up. I'm one of those pastors who I even stood before my church when the music first started popping and was like, hey, y'all, pray for your pastor. I found out I started liking praise a little too much. You know what I'm saying? Just like, I think people can respect that, but at the same time, whether we like it or not, this is what you signed up for. If I make a mistake, if I fall, nobody's gonna want to hear he's a man. It's gonna be, that's exactly. See, when you're already hurt, you need something to validate your pain. So we never talk about, and I want to say this with all humility, not one news station, not one publication is going to post a story about all of the planes that made it safely to their destination. They only post the ones that crash. So sadly, you try to ask that God grace you not to crash, and being young and dealing with the entertainment industry and having kids and living life and I had my team laughing at me the other day. I walked in with my bandana and my little twist. They was like, "Hey, you aging backwards." I was like, "What you mean?" It's like, this music just got you looking cooler and cooler. But it's just one of those things to where, man of God, yes, I love God, but I still want to live a life too. Like me and my wife went to a restaurant the other day and she wanted a glass of wine. I wanted a glass of wine. You know, I said, no, get a glass of wine. I was like, no, I don't believe it's a sin to have a glass of wine. You know, if we look at our counterparts, they see nothing wrong
Yeah.
having a glass of wine or even a cigar. None of that. I believe in black culture and black church culture. We have made things rituals that were never relational.
Mm.
You know, so like at my church, I never forget the first time I was up preaching. This young lady came to church. They put one of them lap handkerchiefs over her legs. Mid sermon, I stopped. Can you remove that? And everybody looked. I said, I don't think you guys realize to put a lap handkerchief over her legs doesn't say she's dressed improperly. It says I'm not strong enough not to look.
Thank you.
It's all of these divisive cultures and
Yes.
different things. So that's what I'm trying to break down. But sadly, you know, when you see it myself, I always say like me, a Darius Daniels, a Mike Todd, all of these young people. Sadly, the world's kind of just waiting on to see. I told y'all they weren't who they said you were. When in actuality, everybody, the Bible says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. At the same time, if you're gonna step in this seat, you got to know the responsibility that comes with it. And I'm gonna do my best to be all I can be. I wish I was who everybody thought I was. You know, I wish they think I'd be praying, interceding, and fasting. I'd be at home watching Raising Canaan just like everybody else. So you gotta pray. Hey, you gotta pray for me. I'll be at home watching Marion and Huntsville, all that at home, like what will you do? So you gotta pray for me, man. Like I am not Jesus. I didn't die for your sins. Jesus did. I'm just here to tell you about a man named Jesus.
I love it. Well, Pastor Mark, please let people know where they can get Singles Ministry and where they can, I'm sure we can watch you online. I'm sure there's a website for people to tune in for your sermons. Share that with people right now.
What's up, everybody? It's Pastor Mike Jr. Follow me on all social media outlets at Pastor Mike Jr. Wherever you get your music from, Apple, Spotify, Tidal, wherever. Download all things Pastor Mike Jr., but specifically the new project, I Got It Singles Ministry. It is a relational record that I really believe is going to bring clarity and healing to your life. Pull out your cell phone. If you need inspiration, giveaways, and maybe a couple messages and some music, you can text Live Big. That's Live Big to 28950. If I could leave you with a word of encouragement, there was a man on the 10th floor of a building. Floors 1 through 9 had caught engulfed in flames. He looked out the window and the fire department yelled, "Jump." That man, like many of you, died in the fire because he was afraid of the problem, which was the fire, and jumping, which is the solution. Many of you have paralysis by analysis. The business is in you, but you keep thinking yourself out of it. The next step is in you, but you keep thinking yourself out of it. You know this relationship isn't for you, but the fear of being alone makes you stay in something that's wrong, when in actuality, you're together but separate. It's crazy. This is your season to jump. And if you jump, I believe God will catch you. I'm Pastor Mike Jr., and keep in touch with me.
I love it. That's our reality check. The reality check is we gave it to us again, the jump.
If you jump, God will catch you. That's the check.
Okay, that's the check. Thank you so much, Pastor Mike. We look forward to keeping up with you and to making sure that we download and support your music. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Crystal.
All right. Well, I hope you guys got as much from that as I did. Definitely check Pastor Mike out and download I Got It Singles Ministry. I have done that, and I've really been blessed by it, and I know you will as well. This was a great reality check. You know, we do a little something different every once in a while. So you guys hang out with me here next week. We'll be right back with more love, relationships, drama, and all that stuff. But today, be encouraged. And remember, if you jump, God will catch you. I'll see you guys next time.